Women are easily attracted to men who know these secrets. This video could be a life-changing experience for you, so please listen to me carefully. The first thing you need to know, which is very important, is how to tell a story. Believe me when I say that 8% of men do not know how to tell a story that attracts a woman. In fact, not just 80%, but 95% of men do not know how to tell a story that captivates a woman. If you ever approach a girl and start telling her a story that portrays you as impressive or adventurous just to make her see you as smart or strong, be sure that this is the fastest way to fail with women. So, how do you tell a story? Don't worry, I'll explain everything in detail. Just be patient because it's essential to understand the theory before I explain the practice. A woman wants to discover things about you on her own. She doesn't necessarily trust everything you say, so she looks for small clues that help her determine your status. Stories are a natural way to capture someone's attention, and if told correctly, they are also a great way to drop subtle hints about your personality. When you tell a story, you need to remember that a woman is listening to your story, but at the same time, she is reading between the lines to make certain judgments about you. For example, let's say you tell a story about how on a Tuesday afternoon, you were lying in bed with a hangover and someone kept knocking on your door until you finally answered it, only to find some annoying religious preachers trying to convert you to some strange new religion. Well, even though you may have intended the story to be a funny anecdote about the annoying preachers, the woman has already started categorizing you as the type of guy who gets drunk on Monday nights, doesn't have a job to wake up for, and has no ambition to get out of bed until the afternoon. Unless you are both in college, these are not necessarily traits that will excite her. At the same time, you don't want to come off as bragging while telling your stories. That's why any positive details about your life that you want to highlight must be hidden within a larger story. This means that while the story itself doesn't have to be positive, she must be able to uncover positive traits about you through it. Let's use the same story about the religious preachers knocking on the door and see how we could tell it in a way that casts a positive light on you. Tuesday afternoon, I was sleeping in. It was the first good, comfortable sleep I had in a couple of weeks since I had been grinding hard, trying to take my business to the next level. Monday night, we landed an amazing contract, and my team and I finally decided it was time to celebrate. Now, Tuesday morning, I'm lying in bed, feeling the kind of hangover I haven't had in years, and I keep hearing a knock on the door. I really don't want to get out of bed. Well, the knocking stops for like 10 minutes, but then starts up again, and now they're ringing the bell too. Finally, I throw on some clothes, head downstairs and open the door, thinking it's my neighbor or something urgent. Instead, I find two guys in suits standing there with big smiles, holding up a pamphlet. One of them says, "Have you accepted the wisdom of our great leader?" And I'm standing there, half asleep, still hungover, looking at these guys like, bro, I don't even remember what I accepted last night. In this version of the story, I included enough details to allow her to conclude on her own that I am an ambitious man, but I never outright stated it. I gave her this information within the context of a funny story about two relentless cult recruiters trying to convert me. At the same time, when you tell a story and reach a moment that makes you look impressive, never emphasize it. Pass through it as if it's not a big deal, as if you're not trying to prove anything to her. And at the same time, don't tell too many stories. Always leave some mystery. The second thing you need to know is how to make a woman want more. And this is one of the most important things you need to learn when it comes to women. And look, if you have been following the How to Attract Women series, you will know that one of the most fundamental rules that govern a woman's mind is that attraction happens when you are not with her, not when you are with her. Attraction forms when she is thinking about you. That is why you must always leave her wanting more. How can you do that? Think of it this way. What happens when you get just a small taste of your favorite food or dessert? You want more, don't you? And what happens when you get a bucket full of it? After you have eaten as much as you can, you don't even want to look at it anymore. Apply the same logic when sharing your personality and yourself with women. Do not reveal everything right away. Tease her a little and leave some mystery and intrigue. Women love using their imagination, so let them. And when you part ways, especially during the first few meetings, make her feel anticipation and excitement. Example, before I leave, I usually say something like, "Remind me to tell you about blank the next time we meet." Fill in the blank with something that will pique her curiosity. Women are curious creatures. Let her wonder about you until she sees you again. She will definitely keep thinking about you. Anticipation can be a wonderful aphrodisiac. And now, I will explain something very important to you. And unfortunately, many men do not realize its value. You need to know how to break awkward silences with a woman. And look, awkward silence has a significance that many men do not recognize. So let me explain something to you. If you observe two women talking, you will notice that they never stop talking and each one interrupts the other to speak. Why? Because women, by nature, know how to talk a lot. But when you are with her as a man and you both fall into an awkward silence, you need to understand something important. The woman can break that silence silence at any moment if she wants to. She has no problem doing so, yet despite that, she remains silent. Why do you think that is? I want you to listen to me carefully. Before I explain how to break awkward silence, let me first explain why you, as a man, should be the one to break it in the first place. There are two main reasons. One, the woman wants you to be the leader. A woman, by her nature, when she is with you, wants you to be in control of the conversation, not her. She wants you to take on that responsibility, even though she is capable of talking for hours without stopping. And look, this is not something she consciously controls. It is part of her nature, and she does it without realizing it. So when you break the awkward silence, you are sending her a subconscious message that you are a leader. Two, awkward silence is seen as a problem, and this is very important. The part of a woman's brain responsible for attraction looks for certain traits in a man, and one of them is his ability to solve problems. When you both fall into awkward silence, this part of her brain sees it as a problem and subconsciously tests you to see if you are capable of solving it. So when you can break the silence, you are hitting two birds with one stone. You demonstrate your leadership ability and at the same time show that you can solve problems. And these two qualities make a woman highly attracted to a man. That's why, if you pay attention, you'll find that women often say they like a man who knows how to break awkward silence during a date. And even though it may seem illogical, because the woman is perfectly capable of breaking the silence herself, she unconsciously prefers a man who takes responsibility. This is why awkward silence usually happens only during the first few dates, because in reality, it is a test that the woman gives the man without realizing it. So, how do you break awkward silence? 1. Use humor. The silence itself is not the problem, but rather the tension that comes with it. It is the tension that makes you feel like the conversation is dying and that there's nothing left to say. The best way to release this tension is to turn it into a joke. Simply, when silence occurs, say something like, "Wow, that was really awkward, huh? One of us needs to say something fast." Or, "Well, that was awkward." The moment you say that, the tension disappears and you both can continue talking naturally. 2. Change the location. If you are talking and the conversation starts to lose its energy, simply say, "Hey, let's step outside and get some fresh air," or "I want to introduce you to one of my friends." When you change the setting, your brain receives new stimuli, which naturally generates new conversation topics, allowing the conversation to flow again. 3. Have pre-prepared topics. This is known as canned responses, which are simply pre-planned conversation topics that you can use whenever you encounter an awkward silence. But instead of using them randomly, use them strategically to shift the conversation to a deeper level. For example, when silence occurs, pause for a moment and then say something as if you are thinking deeply. "I was wondering, are you always this nice to strangers? Since we just met, what were you thinking when I approached you? What was your first impression of me?" Notice how you use the silence, not as an awkward moment, but as a way to take the conversation to a deeper level. You are talking about the situation itself, giving her the chance to express her thoughts and feelings. Women love analyzing situations and talking about the unsaid, and this makes the conversation more engaging for her. And by the way, if you're still watching up to this point, I want to tell you that I wrote a free book where I talked in more depth about how to talk to a girl, and I focused only on how to have a conversation that makes her feel a certain attachment to you without even knowing why. I'll leave the link in the first comment. And now, I want you to pay close attention. If you're reading the comments, go back to the video, focus, and listen to every word I'm about to say as if your life depends on it, because I'm about to explain one of the most important things about women. You need to know how to listen. I've said this dozens of times in this series about how to attract women, but today, I will explain in detail how to listen in a way that makes her think about you all night. So listen to me carefully. When a woman is talking, your only job is to remove from her mind the idea that you're just there to try to win her over, because at first, that's exactly what a girl assumes. A guy who is trying to win a woman over will try to say everything at once. He'll try to impress her, show how cool he is, and when she speaks, he'll constantly look for a chance to interrupt and say something about himself. He'll try to tell his stories and force his way into the conversation however he can. All of this is fine, and there's nothing wrong with being the one who talks. But if you want my advice, as a man, your mind wasn't built to chatter excessively. But even so, if you enjoy talking, then talk. But when the girl starts speaking, you need to listen. And here's the question: how do you listen and show her that you're listening? You need to make her feel, during the process of listening, that she is the one winning you over, not that you are trying to win her over. How do you do that? By following a set of simple steps that you can easily apply. 1. Get the whole message. First, don't rush to respond when she speaks. Sit back, relax, listen to her, and let her finish her thoughts completely. Most men, when a woman is talking, get excited by something she says and rush to interrupt because they want to show that they understand her. This makes you come across as trying too hard, which is unattractive. 2. Amplify. Amplifying simply means reinforcing what she she said and showing her that you understand her. For example, if she tells you she spent the afternoon at the beach, enjoying the fresh air and the calm waves, you could respond with, "Isn't it amazing how just sitting by the ocean can make you feel so calm and free?" By doing this, you amplify the positive emotions she felt during the experience and make her feel them even more while she's talking to you. 3. Echoing. Echoing doesn't mean repeating her words exactly, but rather rephrasing them in your own way. For example, if she tells you about a fun trip she took with her friends out of town and how refreshing it was, you could respond with, "Yeah, sometimes just getting out of the city and leaving everything behind for a while feels so refreshing." This shows her that you truly understand her feelings and makes her feel like you are connecting with her on a deeper level. 4. Empathy. Empathy means saying, without explicitly saying it, "I understand how you felt." You do this by mentioning the emotions you imagine she'd felt in the situation, rather than commenting on the situation itself. For example, if she tells you she was stuck at the airport for hours due to a cancelled flight, making her miss an important event, don't say, "Wow, what a terrible airline." Instead, say, "You must have felt so frustrated just sitting there, knowing there was nothing you could do about it." With this, you're not talking about the event itself, but rather about the feelings she experienced. And this makes her feel that you truly understand her. Another way to show empathy is by commenting on how passionate she is about something. For example, if she is talking about photography with enthusiasm, you could say, "You really have a deep love for photography, don't you?" By doing this, you show her that you notice her emotions, not just the information she's giving you. 5. Captioning. Captioning happens when you bring up things she mentioned earlier in the conversation. If she told you something at the beginning of the date, bring it up later in the conversation. This works great with humor. For example, if she told you earlier that she once had a crazy skydiving experience and it was both terrifying and thrilling, and later in the conversation she mentions being nervous about a job interview, you could say, "Come on, you jumped out of a plane. How scary can a job interview be?" By doing this, you show that you were paying attention earlier, and at the same time, you remind her of a positive experience that she associates with herself. We all love it when someone remembers details about our lives, especially things we are proud of. In short, how do you listen in a way that makes her think about you all night? Get the whole message. Don't interrupt. Listen until the end, then respond to everything she said. Amplify. Enhance the emotions she is trying to convey and make her feel them more. Echoing. Rephrase her words in a way that shows you truly understand her. Empathy. Focus on the emotions she felt rather than just the events. Captioning. Bring up things she mentioned earlier to show you are paying attention and connect them to new situations. When you do all of this, you won't just be a guy who listens. You'll be the person who truly understands her, and that will make her think about you all night. And that was today's video. If you've made it this far, I just want to say I love you. This was the Dark Needle, and I'll see you in the next video.
They call me sassy when I'm strolling down the street. They call me classy when